for stream for me personally, but I'm here either way. I'm just gonna get a few things sorted. It's been a while. The jury duty went well. I mean, excuse me. I went and, I did the whole spiel, and I didn't get selected for jury duty at the time for the court case that they were, looking for jury for. So I got lucky and didn't have to show up every day. However, I did have to skip our stream on Wednesday because my internet was down, which is very unfortunate, but these type of things happen. All right, let's see how our mic is doing here. Sounds good. I think it sounds good. It's hard to tell sometimes. The volume might be a little low. At least it's not clipping. I do think that I can afford to kind of raise it up a little bit more. Over here, maybe by 1 decibel. That might help, unless I do compressor gain. No, that's already there. Cool. So I see my voice here. Okay. Let's see. What else? There's... Oh, yes. Announcement. I gotta make an announcement saying that I am live. We have been working on our Dread on Arrival. We've done the combat. We've done the map. A little bit of bug on the map. But meanwhile, I mean, I guess I could work on that. But thing is, I have been working on some other stuff for my videos, namely State Machine, more specifically alternative to State Machine. Now, what it ended up being, though, instead of State Machine related stuff, it became AI related things. It's like, what's the alternative to State Machine for AI that's better? So that's where we're at. It's kind of making a generic solution to see how far we're at, what we can do. So far, I've implemented some behavior tree. I've implemented the finite state machine. I just want to see, but, obviously this has not been tested. So I kind of want to see what it feels like when it's being used. There's one more thing that I could add. That is GOAP. I think it's also known as... something action planning. It's like planning, a goal-oriented action planning. So I'm going to read up on it real quick. I mean, it seemed like it was okay, but it seems like there's a little complication with figuring out what the state difference is and finding path to the goal. So I'm reading here. Hey, Celine. First has been claimed already by you. Welcome. I'm just reading some Reddit posts here. So I made what I assume is a correct version of FSM and behavior tree. So now, and this behavior tree includes utility, which uses a scoring and priority system. So that's exciting. I'll be interested to see what is a good example of showing this, like, all these combination and cases of different AI is.
I return.
Oh, thanks for the 9-month Prime sub streak. Wow, Celine's been here as well. We're starting to gather some streakers here. Wait, maybe I shouldn't say streakers. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you, Celine, for being here. But I was just saying, I got the behavior tree with the little selector and sequence node. Don't worry if you don't understand what that is. I'm making a video about it. And then this one also includes utility AI, which is like a point system. So it compares priority. And then the FSM, I implemented it so that this can be a hierarchical finite state machine where you can add substate machine to the node. And then the state machine itself has a stack for the history, which is also known as the pushdown automata, which, I don't know, it's a fancy name for having stack history for a state. So I'm not really sure if that, needs a whole section, but I did it anyways. So I'm doing some research here Meanwhile, I'm thinking about what would be the best way to showcase all these like AI logic slash like supercharged state machine, alternative to state machine would be. And I'm thinking probably like some sort of AI logic like Sims probably is the best way to showcase that. I don't know. We'll see. Kelso says, what's up, Ezra? How's your day? It's going well. It's just getting started. We're trying to have a good day. I'm doing a little bit of research here to finish out my new add-on plugin slash like utility template thing that I'm working on, which is mainly for AI, which is kind of unfortunate. Oh, Celine already took first, Void. Welcome, Void. Because when we say AI, it used to mean like enemy AI or like AI and like artificial intelligence for game logic. But now everybody's thinking Gen AI. So Denimal says, shouldn't it be stopping criminals? I guess so. But I haven't been selected by the jury duty. So I'm free. I'm free to roam the city. Hi, Denimal. Voice says, Damnation. Hi, Az. Hi, Void. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Denimal says, free for 3 years anyways. Why 3 years? Voice says, I'm starting commute, leaving work late. Oh, I see. Okay, well, have fun, Void. I'll see you later. Okay, so I'm looking at the goal-oriented action planning. It sounds good on paper, but I want to see why people think that it's not as good. I mean, behavior tree does a lot in terms of executing things in serial. I almost feel like, so between behavior tree and then the finite state machine, I feel like you can do basically everything, especially because I added this behavior tree behavior for what's called a utility AI, which is a score-based sequencer. And so with that, I think it covers everything, but I'm looking at GOAP because this will, the system of goal-oriented action planning is basically telling the AI being like, oh, AI needs to open the door. And then the planner would like do this like pathfinding between all the available actions to find the optimal path to getting that goal achieved, which naturally is expensive operation, especially when the state of the game is changing constantly. So I want to see what that looks like, or if there's like something new that I can invent. Demo says, that's when they can pick you again. After jury duty, you are out of the pool for 3 years. Really? Is that true? Huh. I didn't know that. Hasi says, hi. Hi, Hasi. Welcome, welcome. Good to see everybody jumping in. All right, let's see. This person says, I recently finished my master's thesis in which I worked with behavior trees and was in similar situation where I would find dozens of threads detailing how absolutely atrocious behavior trees are and nobody should use them. Huh. Interesting. You will eventually find the loud, opinionated crowd, but they should not be seen as the only opinion there is. There was a reason that you chose this topic. You have done your research and you can and should happily stay on this path. Ooh, another sub. Hasi, thanks for the 2nd month sub. Wow. Thus starting a hype train. Woo! Look at us. Look at us go. We're streaming, everyone. We're streaming. Voice says, behavior trees are good if implemented properly, though I never got my head around it. It didn't seem that complicated. So, reason I'm doing all of this, I made a script, sponsor script, for next video on YouTube, which basically is like, all right. I want to know how like curiosity invoking this title is, because I want to put out a video that says, something like stop using state machine. Well, kind of. And I'm basically looking at all the alternatives or upgrades to finite state machine that covers for the bad, because vanilla state machine is actually really bad. The problem of a state explosion and, all these other things that you can run into. Daniel says, trying to rage bait me, huh? But, I can't just be like, stop using it and then like tell them all these different alternatives and not show them what they are like. You know, so I'm making them. I'm making a little plugin right now, and I want to test them out. And right now, so far, the test case that I can think of that might showcase them the best is if I make some sort of like little sim where the different characters does different things based on purposes, and then they have some actions. And I want to see if I can make a generic solution enough that I can release it. So the last thing on the list right now is the goal-oriented action planning. I do think, I don't know. This one says it's absolutely terrific. So I don't know. Okay, so behavior tree so far has been pretty simple for me. I think the idea is the leaves are the actions, right? Like it can do something. And each node, there are 2 types. Right now, I have 3 types of nodes right now, which is the selector and then the sequence. And selector node basically is it executes all the child node. It executes it one at a time. So imagine that the children are actions. And if the actions fail, it moves on to the next one until one of them succeeds. So it's like it's executing the actions one at a time until one of them succeeds. Sequence is regardless of if it fails or succeeds, it executes everything in the children node. So those are just 2 types. And then I'm doing this like get priority score thing. So if there is alternative priority score, then it'll execute in sequence of the priority so that you can have more higher priority actions. Like you can have varying priority based on the status. For example, like if you say take cover, like versus reload for the enemy, if your health is pretty high, then maybe you don't take cover. You prioritize reloading, you know, that kind of stuff. So it seems pretty good, especially because a lot of things are sequences anyways. For example, game modes. Think about a card game. We use state machine for like a lot of the game stages, like in phases. And if you have player turn main, which, you know, I have with my Dread on Arrival, we have states that transition from one to another. But at the end of the day, it's not really a state machine. It executes each step in sequence. It never changes its order. It jumps to game over and victory every now and then. But for the main game part, doesn't require a state machine. That's just a sequence of phases. Maybe you have play versus game over as like a 2 state that can transition out. And within a state, you can have this like behavior tree behavior that's more appropriate conceptually. So I don't know. But yeah, let's see. Let's see what this one is. Popularized by fear. I want to see. The difficult part about goal-oriented action planning is the pathfinding. Denmal says, making a boba cafe game for my daughter and going to try my hand at painterly art. Wish me luck. Ooh, good luck, Danimal. Painterly art sounds fun. I just finished my art commission. I need to figure out how to make it not look like it does. Yusuf says, hi, Ezra. Good luck for the future of your project. It seems increasingly complicated. Hi. Hello. Yeah, I mean, it just keeps getting complicated and complicated. We'll figure it out. No worries. Denmal says, if I'm not embarrassed by the result, I'll post it in Discord. Sounds great. I'm sure it'll be great. I think I am definitely getting better. I like the facial expressions I made for this and the kind of rendering I did. So this is the commission work. It was some Halloween special. Isn't that nice? I think so. I mean, there's something about it that feels a little bit off, but you know, that's just because of my lack of skill. But yeah. Look at that. I feel pretty good about this. Showcasing my art skill every now and then here and there. Denimal says, kind of reminds me of Sims facial expressions. Ah, I can see that. Because of the whole like soft feel to it, I guess. Yeah, look. The actions, you have a precondition and what happens after the postcondition, and then basically it finds a path, but you can't like mathematically do the path. So it'll be like breadth first search for all the actions, I think. Look, arithmetic precondition. Yeah, I don't know. State checker. I'm sure everybody has their own implementation of how to do goal-oriented action planning, but yeah. I'll make my own version. All right, so behavior tree. This one actually doesn't really require what do you call a plugin? So I don't know if I should make it its own thing when honestly the plugin itself doesn't install anything. You're just getting this like abstract class that does stuff for you. And that's pretty much the function of this. But maybe people will be okay with that. Hasi says, it's cute. Thank you. Denmal says, yep. Yeah, the softness. Okay. All right. Let me think about this. So goal-oriented action planning. The idea of goal-oriented action planning, which I guess this is like a little bit of a sneak peek of the video, but people who are here for live stream doesn't watch my video anyway, so... Well, at least not those types. So I think it's okay that I talk about it a little bit. A little bit of spoiler. Because I can't just make it. I have to plan it out a little bit. Kelso says maybe you can use base script and then extend it for each enemy you have. Yeah. I mean, that's the idea, but a lot of the times the game logics are so specific to the game itself that it's kind of hard sometimes to... What the heck? What's going on? Sometimes my keyboard freaks out when it gets like when its control gets pressed down. There you go. I think. Jeez. Alright, I'm gonna unplug my keyboard real quick. I'm gonna have to replace my keyboard to the other one. This one is dying for sure, I think. Kelso says you could use finite state machine. Yeah. So far I was explained that I have the supercharged finite state machine and the behavior tree. So I'm going to now add goal-oriented action planning and then use all three of these systems to showcase how you can mix and match for easy development, right? That's the idea. Kelso says that's how they write the behavioral tree. Well, my behavioral tree is separate from the actual finite state machine. Finite state machine does its own thing. Behavioral tree does its own thing, which works, by the way. I think the main usage could be that the finite state machine, the sub-state machine for each node can be a behavioral tree if they need to be. Daniel on YouTube says, hey man, I'm a Brazilian developer. I'm using your plugin in a project and it's helping me a lot. Oh, that's great to hear. Thanks for using the plugin. Hope it continues to be helpful. So goal-oriented action planning, aka GOAP, is basically like, what the heck is this music? Moving on. Basically, the idea is, if you have an agent, right, and then agent goes, well, I need tree, or let's say instead of getting trees, like make fire, for example, that would be the goal. And then, you know, the players would have available actions like a very like categorized action stuff like move A, move to B, move to C. And these actions will have like a before, like precondition, pre-state, and then what happens, like what's required and what happens after the action has been executed. And basically you're doing these like sequence of things until you get to a post state that equals fire made or something like that, right? So then the pathfinding goes, okay, well, this one can do this, then this, and this. And you can do dexterous algorithm to do breadth first search first until you get to a post state where you want. Some clever implementation of that would be somehow have this like differentials of like, oh, we have state I, and then if we do some math, it places us towards closer, kind of like A star, but for state. I'm not sure how you would do that. That seems a little bit harder. So I'm not going to do that. So we're going to do some sort of breadth first search for state. But that also means that the shape of the state is very important. And defining what actions do to the state is very important. But at least it plans the actions, I think. Conceptually cool. I'm not sure if it actually does anything important. But basically, if we do GOAP, I think the scripts are... We need something that drives the GOAP, that does a breadth first search. And then we need players to define all the available actions, right? Like who defines that? I think players do. But the thing is, like, I don't know if you can make a generic solution for these, because each actions can have, I guess, you could be like, oh, we're going to make a script called GOAP action node. And then let's say class name, and then say GOAP action node. You would think that this needs to have a definition for func get precondition, right? Precondition. But then, like, what does it output? Variant? Dictionary? Maybe dictionary. Maybe dictionary. Maybe variant. And then, so basically this would be like, oh, define the precondition of this action node, GOAP action node. And then you can be like abstract func get post condition, right? And that would define what it turns into without actually executing first. Define the theoretical post condition given the state, which will be, I guess, state will be a variant as well. Not sure if the precondition should be like get it or say, hey, is precondition satisfied? I guess that could be the idea. It's like, right? Because the action should be only accessible if the preconditions are satisfied. So I think instead of saying getting the precondition, it might be like, is action available? I think that's probably a better thing. So we say, given the state, is the current GOAP action available? Return true if action can be executed, false otherwise, I think. Okay, so getting the post condition means it's going to do it. And once that has been defined, I think... so these are the theoreticals of like, oh, this is what's going to happen. And then the actual execution should be like, execute or perform given the state. And it'll probably... I mean, hopefully this is actually going to be helpful for me, but execute this GOAP action with given the starting state and return resulting state. Though I don't know if we should be returning a resulting state or if it should be just manipulating the state itself. Maybe not. We'll see. Of course, says, hey Ezra, how did your line plotting turn out, by the way? Line plotting? Line plotting. Oh yeah, that turned out okay. Or you're talking about Dread on Arrival, right? The space map? Is that what we were talking about? I mean, it works. If that's... I don't know if you were here. There's still a bug I need to debug. The bug is that sometimes some of the nodes are not connected. And that requires me to make a debugging little visualizer probably. All right, let's hope that it doesn't crash here in our showcase. So if we have a roguelike version of the game, you can see when I launch it, you know, it generates a map. Oh, this one is there's one example that I didn't want. So you can see, like, it starts at some point and then it just draws some random maps and I can confirm and go into it. And obviously now, you know, oh shoot, power's down. Wait, why did the button go away? Interesting. Anyways, well, this is new. This is a weird bug. But yeah, the line drawing is there. There's a little bit of debugging I need to do, but it's okay. But right now we're taking a partial break because I'm working on this, like, stop using finite state machine or vanilla finite state machine kind of video. And as part of that, I'm exploring all these different strategies. And I'm making kind of like a plugin, but not really, more like a utilitarian package or utility package. I'm trying to make it and then want to come up with one example where I can showcase each of the kind of behavior thing. I mean, FSM was pretty solid because I know I've been using this code a lot for myself, so I know it works. But yeah, the state of the ES. I like that name, Mikori. But yeah. So execute means execute it, and then the state will change based on the execution. That also means the execution itself might do stuff. And honestly, what I would do is, like, for example, if this is like go somewhere, I would probably make a behavior tree that's responsible for that action. Like going to something is controlled by this behavior tree of going to somewhere. And that's going to know how to do some of the action. And at the bottom, the action node of the behavior tree would be the controller, I think. Then it says, I'm calling it as easy machine. You can't stop me. Yeah, that's a good one. Sturdy Post says, how's weather in Redmond? I wouldn't know. I mean, I would think that it's similar to where I am right now, which is Seattle. We're only like a few hours away from, not few hours, I guess an hour away from Redmond, maybe. It's a little gloomy right now. I like the easy machine. That's pretty fun. We'll think about this when we're combining it. Okay, so we have the nodes and it does blah blah blah. It's a little difficult. Sturdy says, I thought you were in Redmond. No, I'm not. Redmond would be kind of far. I didn't work at Microsoft. It's one place I didn't work at. I worked at a lot of places, but not at Microsoft. Let's see. I guess that could be in the next list. Microsoft doesn't pay that much. Well, comparably. They do pay a lot, but they don't pay as much as some of the other tech places, I think. Well, I guess it really depends on how you negotiate it, but you know, they've been in the industry for a while. Okay. So the idea is we have these nodes that we're going to execute, and the client slash users are going to define what these are. So we need a probably GOAP planner. That could be a script or node. Let's imagine this. In a game, if I'm making an action planner, that action planner AI could either be represented as a node on a tree, so I can just plop it onto, create a multiple versions of the same type of action planner and then pop it onto different enemy AI, or make it some sort of like ref counted thing where it's code only. It doesn't require a node presence, which may be okay. But I don't know. I kind of like to stick with these whole like Godot is all about nodes and trees, and you know, just doing that. So let's do that. I'm gonna say this one's going to be easy GOAP planner. I guess I'll just call it action planner. Maybe we don't have to put easy in front of everything. I do that because just in case people in their own game uses this like class name on their own thing and gets confused. But now with like unique ID, I think it'd be okay. So we'll create a easy action planner and class name, call this action planner. And then this is node 2D right now. We're gonna change this to regular node because it doesn't really need to be 2D. The positions and all those transforms don't really matter. Okay. Mikori says, as out here calling Microsoft brokies. No. It's just that they've been in the industry longer, which means, you know, they didn't have to redefine what modern pay looks like. They just kind of increase as they go. Denmal says, I went to Seattle a few times for a Microsoft build. Love that conference and walking around the city. Yeah. Conferences are fun in Seattle. And city is nice to walk around in. Fairly safe compared to some of the major cities. Connick says, oh my god, State Machine. Yeah, it is State Machine. Connick loves that. It's not just State Machine. This is like the monster State Machine. So we have FSM so far, behavior tree, and then we're making a goal-oriented action planner right now. And then, you know what I would love? If you guys can give me an example in your game of like some sort of AI or like simple game genre and like, I don't know, example that I can implement using these things to see what it looks like. Because I need something. I need something to figure out if the code works generically, fairly simply. To let you know, Conic is not just State Machine, it's a super State Machine. So it does regular State Machine stuff, but it also has a stack, meaning you can pop a node, meaning when you're transitioning, instead of transitioning, you can go, hey, state helper, transition to a previous state, and it will go to the previous state. And also, you can have a sub-state machine, meaning this can handle hierarchical state machine. So stack machine. Yeah, exactly. Sturdy. But yeah. All right, action planner. So action planner probably will take, I mean, technically action planner will need all of the available action for a specific characters. I don't know what can be configured. I suppose there's nothing really to be configured. I almost feel like Action Planner shouldn't be a scene now all of a sudden. It can be just kind of ref counted utility. All right, I'm going to do that actually. I'm going to... hold on. How do I close this? Can I close this? Close. There it is. I'm going to delete this real quick. Action planner is going to be ref counted, and basically it'll have to have something along the lines of, well, here is a goal state, get there, right? So we can say plan And then it'll return a planned path, meaning we'll get a ordered list of action nodes, right? GeoAP action nodes. I think we're going to have to change a lot of this as we go. Plan action, and then we can say starting state, which will be a variant. And then we can have a goal state, which will be a variant. Conic says maybe a platformer with character or text states. Yeah, that could be good. Maybe a little bit of AI. Magic says, hi everyone. Hi Magic Fubar. Conic says, this sounds like French to me, not gonna lie. French? Because you can understand it or you can't understand it? Or is it the pronunciation? Magic Fubar says, Ezra, how about a very basic roguelike for state checking? Alright, you're gonna have to be a little bit more specific than that. You know, roguelike can be anything. Like a platformer roguelike or, you know, top down. Sturdy says offshoring. I heard US is crazy. What? Oh, Denmal says, my company gobbles up a lot of Microsoft layoffs. Seems like working at MS is like revolving door, always bringing people in and removing people before they have raised their pay. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird because beforehand, at the peak of software engineering, people left within 3 years. Nobody stayed more than 3. I mean, not nobody is like pretty strong words, but a lot of people actually, like 3 years was expected amount of work that they do before they look for a new job. Because people either get tired or they're looking for higher pay, and that's why like the kind of pay got inflated because people leave so often and they're stressed and they get like whatever. But then at some point, because of the economy or whatever, people started not leaving. And I think that's where we're at the point of like, okay, well, you're not leaving, so let's force them to leave / like do all that. So I don't know. That's the insidious explanation of what might be happening. Sturdy Poses says, as a EU folk, it seems like a lot of tech money is coming in here. Okay. Denmal says, yeah, tech jobs here is getting a little difficult to come by at the moment. Yeah, I mean, with everything, it's kind of... Job itself is, I think, really hard to come by for a lot of people at the moment. In the great nation of United States of America. Magic Fubar says, Waves of Monsters, top down. Okay. So Vampire Survivor. Is that what you want? All right. We're gonna make Vampire Survivor with smart AIs, I guess. How about... All right. And we're not gonna worry too much about like making animations and stuff because that takes a lot of time. So we'll try to use as much like pre-made assets as possible. Let's see. Mikori says neural net state machine. You know what? Honestly, okay, you joke, but part of this, think about behavior tree, right? Or goal-oriented action planning. Like it does some sort of planning and then it spits out the states and whatnot. But if you make it so that the action node where you implement the function that says give me the post condition, that could be implemented in ways to use Gen AI type of logic or API call to get a made up post state. So you can technically have AI based planning that is a little bit more strict. But that's, I guess, not what we want to do right now. But I see it. Magic says, nah, use color blocks. Yeah, exactly. Just color blocks of enemies. Circle versus triangle. Sturdy says, hell yeah, brother. The land of free. Yep, very free. Free to die. Denmo says, I'll just have my game ask ChatGPT every time it tries to do something. Yeah. Wow. Kanik says, how are you planning to implement AI? I I have some general idea in my head. So my idea right now is gonna be basically the leaf nodes of the behavior tree will be the functions. So the AI can do something specifically. For example, move to something, shoot at something, or, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like all those actions, or like play this animation, those are gonna be the leaf of the behavior tree. And behavior tree itself, there will be multiple behavior trees for different like sequence of actions. So for example, if I say chase player would be finding a player within the detection thing, seeing if you can go there, and then trying to move there, right? That's like the sequence of things. That would be a behavior tree, a behavior pattern for a single idea of an action. And then you have this building block of very fundamental actions. That's the leaf. And goal-oriented action planning would plan which sequence of behavior tree it will need to execute in order to achieve a goal. Finite state machine itself can be used for more like animation control, right? So it's not really like doing all those things. Or it could be just kind of like the overall bigger picture type of thing. So I think there's some ideas there. Sturdy says, I think for behavior tree, you might also need a Markov chain. Markov chain? That sounds familiar. Let me look. I think I saw a video recently and somebody was like, stop using blocks, use chain or whatever. Probability. Oh, probability-based stuff. I guess I was thinking about that. So right now it has a priority score, but it doesn't have the probability. So technically, if I say, hey, here's a weight, then between the same priority, it'll randomly select based on the weight. But then sometimes you don't want it to do randomly. So I think there could be a little like use weight versus like don't use weight type of thing. Where I could say like bar is weighted children, for example, or something like that. And it'll be like if weighted behavior. Anyways, I don't know if I want to add this right now. There's going to be a little bit more thought I need to put on. I'm guessing it also is something like, oh, state machine can transition based on probability as well. Conic says, is abstract like interface? It's basically interface. They call it abstract because in Java, at least, the difference between interface and abstract is that interface is like, technically you could have multiple interfaces. So it's like the planner. So a single class can be a bunch of different interfaces. The music is a little too loud. Thanks for the follow, Luck. Hold on. Let me reduce the music. I mean, people know interfaces. Interfaces are like blueprints. Generally, you could have multiple interfaces. A single class implements multiple interfaces. And interfaces are strictly blueprints. Abstract conceptually are classes with blueprint. So it's a single class with like interfaced functions that is required to be implemented by its children, but it may have actual execution. And this is useful because, for example, right here, my behavior tree uses these interfaced functions while execution logic uses those assumed interfaces. So this is available for all its children and it has a default built-in logic that uses the interface. So it's like class plus interface. That's what abstract is. Let's see. Sturdy says priority can be technically probability. I mean, yes, because you could roll the dice and set different priority based on that. True, true, true. Demo says I should make my YouTube Twitch name Godot. Get it like It's like Godot. I get it. I get it. It's funny. Sturdy says, feels okay, man. All right. Anyways. All right. Planner. Might have to rename this, but we're going to do this. Because this, how do you tell the difference between the goal state and then the starting state? That's going to be hard. So technically, we need a callable. I mean, it's going to be really bad, I think. Because we have two variants here. And we need the the client to define how to tell the difference between the two states, right? So we need to say, well, like, implement or pass in the callable. So I think, honestly, on init, we need a callable that's called state comparator. Right. Var comparator will be a callable. And basically, it'll look something like that. So when you're about to use this function, you have to define the callable of what the comparison of the states look like. A little bit complicated because I can't be like, oh, this is a callable between variant and variant. You just need to be like, initialize action planner. Define callable state comparator to implement how to compare two states. Right? I think. Mikori says, when I think of probability, I think of state having multiple possible states. It can go to or be called from depending on the last 2 to 3 states it picks the next one. I mean, I can see that approach. I think, okay, so the idea here is that I get that, and I see some other approaches as well. Can you do those things given this, like, if you need to do that yourself, how much extra work and thinking is it? And can this vanilla version of whatever I have allow that? And I think it does. If not, then I have to implement it. But yeah. Interesting thoughts here. The indentation. What? Oh. Okay, there you go. So the idea is we're going to plan action. We have a starting state and then the goal state. And then this one also will have all the available actions somehow defined. So this is where I have to be like, okay, is this actually ref counted or is it in the node? And then I drag and drop all the possible actions into the node. Probably not. We can initialize with the comparator of the states. I can already see how this could be messed up, but we'll see. Add available actions, maybe? Yes. Oh, this could be confusing. AP action node. Action node could be this, and then it adds to it. So I would be like, initialize with the comparator, and then I go through all the available action nodes, and then add it to... Oh, but then if it's available, it needs to be everything. Well, I guess... I guess some of the actions could just be... Oh, Ooh, you know what? Action availability depends on the state, isn't it? We need a full picture of all the possible actions, and they're filtered by the state because the precondition will define if the action is available or not. And that's why it's expensive. Okay. So the client / users would implement each action node, describe precondition. Those are nodes. Maybe it'll be under the planner. Yes, under the planner. Okay. I changed my mind. This is going to be a node, and I might actually do this. Instead of init, this can be comparable. Needs to be I wonder what happens if I make an abstract function for the node. So you can define for each action node what difference is. So it would be like compare states, and then a before hold on. I have to think about this. Because get post condition will already define what the state will become given the precondition. What's the comparator for? Yeah, we don't need a comparator actually. Okay. So we don't need this. I'm having to do a lot of planning here. A lot of back and forth. McRae says, my thoughts are always interesting, but not always smart. Someone probably sometimes. No, it is probably smart. There's a big part of me being in the middle of thinking. And then when somebody says something, it's really hard for me to like wrap my head around to like insert the new idea into what I'm doing already. So a lot of the times it has to be like, okay, I'll keep that thought in mind, park it somewhere else, finish this. And then when that comes up, things will make more sense again. So I say it's interesting. It's like, okay, I can see how that could be useful. Right now, I can't think about that type of thing. All right. Whew, that's hard. Okay, so the idea is here's the action, and it's a node. Within the planner, I can define a bunch of the actions, action nodes. Only problem is like, what if I want to have like duplicate action nodes? Is that going to be a problem? Like, do I have to instantiate each action? I feel like that's a little bit, it's kind of bad, right? And so instead of, when I'm inserting available actions, instead of dragging and dropping, yeah. Okay. Two ideas. If the planner is represented as a node on the tree, say this is a planner for AI. For each of the actions that are that should be considered for the planner, I can create a node for it underneath it, and then it'll automatically consume that as possibilities. And so now you have different planners with different instantiations of the node, which means we have a lot of copies of these instantiations, which may be okay. I don't know. It seems a little messy, but we'll see. If it becomes actually really slow, then we'll think about it. Because otherwise, it's ref counted, make it ref counted. Each nodes are ref counted, and then they represented only as a script, and then preload them on action. But no, I think this is what we can do. So Action Planner probably will go through the starting state, and then basically basically, there might be a loop actually. That's why we do breadth first search, right? So func, no, we don't even need that. So in order to plan action, what we're doing is for child in get children, and basically we want to filter this. I guess we can do var available GOAP actions, BGOAP action node will be essentially all the children of this planner. So use case would be like the way it's meant to be used is by clicking on them, or by making the actions a child of the planner. So, and then if the child is GOP action node, we're gonna add it to this as part of the action. So this is all the actions. And for all the actions, basically is action available is going to be called. So for our starting actions will be filtered version of this. I don't know if it actions, which will be starting action, can make it the action first in, first out. That would be the first in, first out, which is Q, would be the way to do breadth first search. P says, hello senpai, how's it going? It's going. I'm doing a lot of self-talking here. It's very hard to follow, I know, but it is what it is. And then we'll say, hey, the action queue, we're going to start by filtering out the action node with the actions that are available given the starting state. So if it's true, it's going to be there. It's going to action queue. We'll start with that. This one will be all the actions. And then we're going to navigate it. P says, how's it going? We did that. Though this also might mean that there might be an infinite loop to a point where it just cannot get to a point. It just doesn't know how to get there. I wonder if we need to make sure we designed the nodes so that cannot be reused, but that wouldn't make sense. Mikori says, just think of it as AAA game studio. Use all the memory, and if the player doesn't have enough, it's their fault, not ours. What is yeah, exactly. Just be like, okay, we're gonna make it as great as possible using every single resource, and then the system requirement is actually 32 gig RAM. And we're gonna use all of them. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard. Okay, so we have the action queue. Technically, while action queue is empty or goal reached, so far is goal reached, which is false, right? So we'll say, hey, while, I know it's, let me zoom in, get back into this mode. So we say, hey, while the goal is not reached, because if the goal is reached, we want to stop. Or queue is not empty. Is it and? Okay, loop. We want to loop it. We want to stop the loop if the goal is reached. So if it's true, it's going to end. But if it doesn't reach, if it's false, but this becomes empty. So it's end, actually. Right? So... Or... We got to make sure that it stops planning. So I think we're going to have export var plan action limit. And then I think what we're going to do is probably keep it at 100. Like more than 100 step. For now. And then define it as planning stops if the goal after we should probably make it more like 50, I think. Considering this amount of actions. Planning stops after considering this amount of actions. If the goal state cannot be reached after this amount of action. Okay, stops if the goal state cannot be reached after this amount of actions. Something like that. I mean, technically we should count this depth instead, but it is what it is. Okay. Breath first. Breath first. That means we have to keep track of all the pathing then. Whew. That means we have to keep track of all the state variation after visiting a node. Whew. Okay, this is not clean, but it's going to be what it has to be, I think. McCoy says, by the way, have you seen clips of that one New Friends game called RV There yet? No, I haven't. What? RV There yet? No, I haven't seen it. Does it look fun? Is that something you want to play? Oh, looks interesting. Why? Is it going viral right now? It looks silly. I like it. Very positive. It does look fun. Is this something I have to play with you guys? You want to play this with me sometime? We'll do it. if there's somebody who wants to play in the viewers. Because it's kind of like Peak, but you're going on mountain with an RV. I see. Sounds frustrating, but fun. Fun to watch at least. I gotta add it to my favorite or like wish list. When it loads. When it loads. RV there yet. Oh, that's pretty cheap too. Add to wish list. There you go. I did it. Hepta says, you have sexy hair. Why is everybody commenting on my hair? Thanks. Appreciate it. It's getting really long. I don't know. I got to get it really short. Hepta says, give us your hair. Okay, hair donation. I'll give you my hair. Donate for hair donation. Hepta says, show us what products you use. Hey, if only I can get money from that, then I would do it. But I don't really use much products. I think it's just genetic, dude. Because at least your hair stays the same if it's long. My hair grows on. Now I have mullet situation. Mullet is trendy, no? Yeah, really depends. I mean, I mentioned this before. Hepta, weren't you here when I talked about my hair product? I mean, I only use conditioner and shampoo, but I use this thing. Look, it says get your formula, and you go, custom hair care. How long is your hair? I go, short. Is this straight? Soft waves? Wavy? I would say, well, it's basically straight. Maybe like soft wave. Where would you put your hair on oily, dry spectrum? Probably medium. That kind of stuff. Anyways, and then it asks you for zip code for pH level of the state you're in. The water, like the faucet water pH level, to adjust the acidity of the shampoo and conditioner and all that. Yeah, that's what I use. Does it work really well? I don't know. Who knows? I would like to think that it's better than just regular shampoo. The ones that use like harsh chemicals, but maybe I'm being duped. Ooh, ads starting on Twitch. Hepta says sexy hair is the result. I should be sponsored by the shampoo company then. Okay. Anyways, a little bit of confusion here. So we have an action queue for all the available actions. And I think each of the action needs to keep track of basically how far we've gone so far. Right? It's pathing. I mean, obviously you could do it recursively. I'm trying to avoid that. So let's think. Anytime I pop a node, this node from the queue, node should include information about what state it's at, right? Like what state has it become, so that you can pop into a new one. And then what actions have been executed so far for this particular one. Yeah? Yeah. So that means for the GeoAP action node, which is user defined, I'm really tempted to put stuff like if I were to reuse it. Otherwise, I'm going to have to make a wrapper. So like var path, right? Jay Cannon says that new Pamela Anderson hair product commercial used the term micro dose. Let's see this buzzword crossover. Microdose. Pretty sure that's something else. Hi, Jay Cannon. Welcome. Because I could be like, oh, path is just an array of GeoAP action nodes, and then it's going to keep track of all the path. Then what can happen, by the way, this obviously I'm doing this as I'm trying to figure it out. So so first we're going to say action node. Oh, this is going to be so bad. I hate this already so much. It's so bad. Okay, so var visiting, which will be, because the answer is not coming to my head like automatically like it would with a lot of the other algorithms. Hold on, I'll be back. I think I'm gonna get some water. Also, I think there's somebody in the apartment. All right. I'm back. But you guys can already probably tell how, like, why this is such a, like, hassle of an implementation. Can't believe this is something that people actually use. I mean, I can see why it's useful, but whew, this is an expensive task. All right, so the idea is whenever we're visiting something, we got to pop it from the top, right? So we're going to push back, or yeah, push to the front and then pop it from the back for the Q-ness, right? So we'll go A action Q. We're going to pop the back and say we're visiting this. And in order to figure out what the next in the path is, we have to go A from the available action. Oh. But they are single instances. So we actually need to make a wrapper node. Kind of sucks, but we can call this GeoAP navigating node. Maybe I should call navigation. Navigation node. And this one's going to have a path that it has taken so far. And so the tail will be at the end of this. Grand. Okay. And that means for the planner, Sturdy says, pop the back. All right, feels okay. Hey, we like to pop the back and push the front. That's how the queue goes, you know? So we're going to call this GeoAP navigation node. So in order to do that, we probably will instantiate it from here. And our initial available ones, because these are all the available ones. You know what? Actually, hold on. I got something. I might have to make a helper function. So the helper function would be get children actions. And then it's going to return an array of available children actions. Given the state, which will be the variant, the precondition. And that is simply a filter. So we'll just return this thing from the available actions. So we got the state, and then actions will be an array of these actions. So we're going to just filter it. Like so. From the actions, got the action node, we're filtering it. We're going to get the available children action. So we made this. And from the available children action, we're going to iterate through. So for starting action in starting action, which would be the starting state. and then the available GOP actions. For each one of these, on the action queue, we're going to, well, for now, we're going to push back a new our navigation node, which will be this. Our navigation node is this, and then we're going to call this ref count it, because this one doesn't require a node representation. It's just simply an information. And then this one requires an initialization of the path so far. Or path, I guess, just path. Which just simply assigns that. Just an information holder. Whew, okay. This is getting complicated, but it's something. It's something. That's where this works. No testers needed. Just straight up trust that it works. Our navigation node would be GOAP navigation node new, and then we're going to provide a path here. But the path is the starting action. So it's because it's only one in here. And then we're going to push back this navigation node. So we have the action queue, which are queues of that navigation node. And then we come over here. When we are visiting it, it is a now action node. When we pop. Great. Okay, now we have it. Great. All right. So now we're visiting. And we want to say, hey, for this particular thing. Ah, yes. One more thing. Navigation node requires a state. Current state. Which be a variant. Var state will be a variant. We might have to change this later, but we'll see. Okay, whew. Okay, we're visiting the node and we say, all right. Given the visiting state, give me all the children actions. Get children action for the visiting state, which I guess we have to populate here as well. State and the path. So we'll say starting state. Hopefully it's a copy of the state. Because I don't know if it's going to appropriately dedupe. I almost feel like the state has to be a dictionary. Yeah, we'll see. All right. Starting state. Oh, we'll see. I think there needs to be a lot of abstract classes or abstract functions to make this right. I almost feel like the variant of the state, I'm gonna have to make a GOAP state class with some abstract functions to keep from erroring. But unless we make a state helper, then it can be a wrapper, I think. Anyways, so we get the children action for the given state for the available actions, which will be the available actions like this. These are the children nodes. Just popped this. So we're going to have to make a for child in this. We have to now create a new navigation node, which would be the post state. Oh my gosh. Oh, this is so hard. This is so complicated. Okay, hold on. So we created a navigation node already. The state is actually not a starting state. The state should be what happens after it experiences the node. So this is actually more like starting action, get post condition, and then provide the starting state. McCoy says, just remember, if it was easy, there would be millions of them. Well, I suppose. I almost feel like almost anybody who's making... Well, let's just hope that this is actually really useful. I mean, I can see how some of these like can be pretty interesting. When it works, it's going to feel like pretty amazing. But until we get to the verifications part of the development, it's gonna feel little overwhelming. Okay, so whenever we're about to create a new navigation node, basically what we're doing is on the child action, we're gonna say get post condition from the visiting state. So there's a state of post visiting, and we're going to get a post condition of that. And then the array that we're going to create is going to be a combination. So the path, our new path, which is an array of GOP action node. I think it's basically going to be a copy of this. Though I don't know if it'll copy appropriately. So if I say, hey, this is this, I wonder if it's going to assign a new, and then visiting dot path. New path will have this new action as part of the path. And then we're going to provide that. So we have a new navigation node. Right. And then we're going to put the new navigation node into the action queue. Let's say that we're going to push front, or right, because we're popping the back. Action queue, push front, the new navigation node, child navigation node, let's call this. Boom. Phil says, Mr. Ezra, you finished any of your Godot projects yet? Every time I come on Twitch, everyone constantly be in a state of deving and never playing with what they are working so hard to complete. Well, kind of. I mean, it's like it's always evolving, right? I've completed plenty of game jam games, and I've completed plenty of like this is a playable state of the game. But I think my next goal is to have a Steam release next year, which I have a roadmap for my game called Dread on Arrival. And our first roguelike version, right, the first iteration of playtestable version is goal to be December. So that's coming up. Otherwise, I have finished games on itch, but that's not really finished, is it? It's just game jam and experiments. So no, we're all just deving. We're all starting new projects, unfortunately. But no, we will finish it. That's the goal. This year, we're definitely finishing it. This game, well, I I ambitiously said I'm going to finish 3 games in next year. Phil says, nope, you got 1 week left to release your current project. Ah, no. Yeah, I have to release before the world ends, which is pretty soon, it seems like. Okay, well, here's the thing, though. I might not have fully released the game yet, but I have released a plugin, dialogue plugin, which is a project. So I would say I have a released project. Does that count? I mean, that happened within a year of me first starting, and a lot of people are still using it. So, hey, not completely useless. Let's see. All right, so we have action queue populating. We want to make sure that the action limit, honestly, action limit, I feel like it needs to be smaller. We'll do 30 action limit. Basically, if I think what we're going to do is basically when we're visiting, we're going to check if the resulting state of this visiting node is same as the goal state. So we'll say like this is gonna be tricky. Let me think. Action will always be available. It won't be available if it's not necessary anymore. Do I need an abstract class saying that this has been reached? No. The state needs to say, is the state same goal state? Ah, shoot. I think I do need a state helper to define what the goal state is. Because we're navigating aimlessly right now, creating this like post condition. Okay, hold on. Phil says, "Hey, we have an accomplished dev here, ladies and gentlemen." Exactly. I have accomplished something. Here, I don't know if you've actually not seen my dialogue plugin. I'm not going to show it. Well, I'm not going to showcase what it does, but let me show you the result. So I can actually showcase what it's all about. I don't know where it is, so I need to go look for it. All right, so we got the plugin, dialogue plugin here. Boom. Ah, hello. And then, oh, look at that. Boom. Boom. Perhaps this should be a command, but you know, with documents and everything. Look at that. Ta-da. I got some stars. Look, 169 stars, 14 forks. I haven't looked at issues ticket in a long while. I'm sorry. But people be messaging and I fix it. I don't know. Hey, look, I got 43,000 views on this one. It's okay. It's not bad. It's not my biggest anymore. It used to be my biggest, or one of the biggest, but hey, here we are. Phil says, when I can't decide when in your current predicament, I just write poor code and naturally iterate on over time and eventually end up with what we wanted, but couldn't figure out right at the start. No, I get it. And that's usually what I do too. But I think I have some planning, so I'm trying to, make it okay. All right, so what is definitely needed is some sort of client needs to define either a callable well, it's a node, so maybe not a callable. Or pass in the little helper thing to say, oh, given these two things, the goal has been reached. And so that definition technically is custom for the planner itself, but I'm saying that the planner is going to be a node. An available action node is going to be as children. When we're calling this whole like plan action, I think what we need to do is pass in a new abstract ref counted class that is a helper function that player gets to decide. Okay, I have to think about this real quick. For planning action, do I do pure state comparison to get to the goal? Or instead of the goal state, I provide a goal action. Say, at the end of the day, I want to achieve this action as opposed to achieve this state. Because if we say I want to achieve this action, all we have to do is stop when that action has been executed. Right? Would that be easier? Hi, Very Cherry with Fig emotes. Welcome. Phil says 43k is not bad at all, amigo. Our brains naturally try to code the finish line on first attempt and we end up paralyzed fun times. Yeah. Those are some of the things that happens. That's when I like to draw. Sometimes when I draw or put it on the notebook, it helps a lot. Phil says, so what's this game about? Well, the Dread on Arrival is what we've been working on, which was like little tactics, spacefaring, crew management game, FTL plus Darkest Dungeon. But we're pausing slightly because obviously I need to release new videos, especially because I got a sponsor for the next video, so that means I actually need to release a video. And as part of it, I thought it would be interesting to explore all the state machine alternatives. Because, you know, a lot of people talk about using state machine. I want to talk about not using state machine. And that means there are a lot of alternatives of like upgraded version of the vanilla state machine. So we have finite state machine, which I implemented with hierarchical state machine availability and the push down automata, which is basically stack history. So you can have previous state visitation along with behavior tree, which, you know, and then the utility AI, where I was talking about how utility AI is between the two actions. It uses a scoring system to choose one. So behavior tree combined with utility AI. And then I'm now making a generic solution for a strategy called goal-oriented action planning, where basically it's a type of AI where you provide the goal and then it navigates through all the available action sequences to figure out the path to the goal. So for example, if you say, I want to get healthy, and then AI would decide, okay, well, in order for me to get healthy, I'm going to do, you know, take cover, then, you know, use medkit or whatever, you know? So, I mean, technically, I guess in order to get healthy, you can just use a medkit, but then you're going to lose health immediately. So I guess it doesn't really matter, but you get the point. Whatever. So I'm making these strategies. So goal-oriented action planner is the last of the series. And then I'm going to try to make a quick examples of using these things. So I can either be like, realize myself, oh, it is useful. Or I go, it's not that useful. Phil says, need more context to answer that question, lol. Huh? What question? Phil says, oh, what? Did you just state every game category? Yeah, we're working on 2D, 3D, FPS, not on FPS RPG. No, I didn't say. Crew management. Wait, weren't you here when I was showing off my design doc? Seems like you weren't. Because what you're thinking of would be, I need health. Am I being shot at? If so, take cover and heal. Otherwise, just health. Yeah, something like that. There were some examples. There were some good examples for like, for example, if it is an AI that's building a fire, right? Like I need to build fire. I have a campfire here. In order to build fire, I need wood. So I move to the tree, chop the tree, bring the wood to the campfire, and then feed the fire or feed the campfire. And then now you have a thing. And then the action planner would look at all the available action given the state to achieve that goal. So like, for example, if I already had wood in my inventory, I wouldn't need to go chop the wood because the state says this condition has already been achieved. So this goal action can be performed. So this is where I'm like, okay, well, the goal state could be indicated as fire on for object campfire. And then it does everything until that is achieved. But then the focus is like, I'm looking at this like one thing to achieve. So we need to be careful and think instead of a goal state being passed over, we might need to have it might be more useful for client to define, is goal state achieved callable? Given the state, right? So we can say, is goal achieved callable would allow me to define for the action, say, oh, my goal for this action is this will call, which almost makes me feel like I want to pass the goal action node instead of goal state. And we could say is action result achieved, right? Which would be a Boolean. So this would be like define. So we'll have state, right? Given the state is the result of the action achieved. Right? I mean, it's a little bit complicated, but that would allow us to... So for example, if I implement this, I could have a bunch of parameters, right? I say, oh, okay, well, this is an action node to say, turn on light in room A. And then I can have turn on light action define what it means to have the light on given the state. And basically on the planner, we could pass the pre-parameterized goal action as a thing, right? And so Phil says, sounds like you're abstracting too early, friend. The best abstraction usually comes after everything is already built, like when you see a very clear pattern. Yeah, I know. But, you know, the part of this is that I'm already abstracting it as like a tool because we already have the design goal. So I don't really... They're part of the implementation that I'm trying to see if it is abstractable without actually implementing it. Because the exercise, I'm not going from, okay, I need this in my game and therefore I'm building it and then I'm going to generalize it. The unfortunate truth of making a video about it and tooling is the whole like, okay, well, I'm abstracting things out right now and I'm critically thinking about what it means to use it. So I'm pretending to have used it or pretending to use it in my project and what it looks like. And then the second layer would be for me to actually implement this using this in an actual project and correcting some of the early assumptions. So I'm not trying to assume too much. And I agree. Normally, if I did it this way first, it would be a disaster. But I think at least for some of these things, I've used it enough to know where it needs to be. All right. So we have a goal action here. And basically, whenever we reach, okay, whenever we're popping the visit, Phil says, "Glux, amigo." Thank you, I appreciate it. We're doing what we can. Hey, at the end of the day, it's content. So we have is action result achieved will be based on the state of the visiting state, right? And if this is true, that means goal has been reached. Which I guess technically we could just be like, hey, if this is a case, goal has been reached, and then break out. We don't have to add any queues or anything. More specifically, I think this is the result. So we could have var result action path, which should be an array of action path, right? Which we already defined earlier, which we will return. By default, it'll be empty. And then basically, hey, if the goal is reached on the visiting state or the goal action, then we're going to say the resulting action path will equal to the path of this. So we don't really need this because we're going to break. Because we reach the goal, we break, blah, blah, blah. Otherwise, if the action queue becomes empty because there's no more available actions, then we're going to move out of the way, which will never happen. We're going to skip queuing up children if the visiting path's size is greater than plan action limit. Greater than equal to plan action limit. That means we have exceeded the amount of planning we can have. Or not break, continue on this one. So eventually we're going to get to a point of completely, let's do 10 steps instead. Completely empty, and it'll empty out. This may take a long time, but I think it'll work. All right. So goal action, we're going to call if the action results have been achieved. We got the get post condition, and then this execution will define how it's actually executed. All right. Technically, I think that's everything. We'll see. All right, everyone. We have our FSM behavior tree and goal-oriented action planner. We're done here. Let's make our stuff. A simple sim, maybe? Okay. Squares and triangles, we said. So we'll do squares and triangles. For a main game. Let's see. Or we can use our strawberry folk as our sprites. So for now, we'll have berry folk information here and copy all the berry folk sprites from this project. which is probably buried in OneDrive somewhere, as it does. Hold on. Users. There you go. Berry folk. I'm still trying to decide what the game would be. There's some animation control we want. We want them to jump. We want them to kick. Where is it? Wait, what are we looking at? Oh, this is the wrong one. Godot project under our little Twitch gachapon. Berry folk here. We'll grab our sprites, which is all the PNG files, I believe. Yeah, the shiny versions and all. Copy. Then we're paste it over under Berry folk. Okay. All right. Got the sprites. Time to come up with a game design that requires a bunch of AI. Maybe a little revenge system. I don't know. Oh. Okay. What if the berry folks like plant, like they're farming? These like individual berry folks are like farming and achieving goals. Okay. Let's do that real quick. Zaba Zev says, "Got manager game would seem like a good idea for a game needing a lot of individual AI." Yeah, I think so. I agree. Where the AIs do whatever they want, and then you get to like drop stuff, I guess, into the world here and there. Phil says 6 days and 23 hours and 42 minutes and 13 seconds. Time's running out, mister. Oh no. Oh no. It is running out. All right. Let's make a quick design here. Notepad. The best planner ever. And we'll keep it in the project. This is our document right now. I'll be impressed. I'll be impressed if everything works at once. I haven't made any like tester or testing framework. So I have a feeling that it's probably going to have some issues here and there, but it's okay. Game design. All right. So we need a lot of AI. So God manager for berry folks. Few goals, I guess. We need some like actions that are available. Berry folk actions could be like, you know, move to something, kick towards something, pick up something. I guess put down or drop something. It needs to plant till, right? So till ground, or is that how you spell it? Is it till the ground? It is 2L. Good. To till the ground. Yes. Till the ground. We can plant. Water plants. Right? Water plants. Sleep. Sleep for health. Right? Yes. Or sleep or rest. Oh, Rest. Yes, here we go. All right. What else? We need predators. Oh, we have a slug. Okay, so we'll use our slug PNG. I don't know if it's still here. It's somewhere in here. I think fleeing is more of a behavior. Okay, you're right. Fleeing is part of it. But what I'm trying to do here is like, what is the fundamental building block actions? And what is a behavior? And because behavior is just combination of actions, right? So fleeing would be move to place that's away from danger, right? Right, because we need to decide target. Would that be an action? I don't know. I don't want to break it down too crazy. Saba says you're right. But how do you plant without a seed, right? Maybe you get seed if you... I'm trying to think. Because to start, if there's only one, how do you get a seed, right? Because I could be like, okay, well, if the two berries love one another, they get a seed. That could be interesting. I mean, you have pick up seed, brother, man. But then, like, where's the seed? Where does it come from? Where does the seed come from? I mean, that's the... I have to figure out the game mechanic. Do you just put the seed into the world, maybe? Maybe. I guess so. So you start with one berry. One berry looks at a seed and then picks it up and plants it. You, as the god of this world, get to give them seed. Okay, cool. All right. God action. Drop seed into the world. Fire? Why? I mean, why would you torture your berries? I suppose. Slug actions. Eat, plant, eat. Would the slug eat berries? Move to something, which is common. Okay. Which would be runaway behavior. Do I define flee? I don't know. It's Zabazev. I'm almost convinced to define a separate thing called flee. And flee location is decided somewhere else. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Celine says, goodbye, Az. I gotta have to sleep. Lol. Have a good stream. Yeah, thanks, Celine. Thanks for stopping by and chilling. And the 9-month sub. I'll see you later. Have a good sleep. I mean, we don't have to make it too complicated, but I suppose the slugs can just spawn randomly. Drop seed into the world. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to just start with this. So the game mode probably game state. We're gonna have pause and resume, I suppose. Essentially, there's really no game over, is there? I guess there is if all the berries die, but we don't care about that right now. We don't care about all these. Yes. Okay. We're going to try to use our state machine as much as we can. All right. Should it be top down or side? Like a platformer? That's also a question. Whatever, it doesn't matter. All right, let's make some berry folks here. We're going to make a character body. Character body. And call this a berry folk real quick. And then berry folk can be a bunch of different things. Attach script, berry folk. Class name, berry folk real quick. And then we'll define a bunch of different things. I mean, I guess I could give... They could have different abilities, but that's whatever, I think. Ooh. We can't help but think about good game loop here. The whole point is that it's just a demo, so it doesn't actually have to be good game loop, but you know, temptation is there. Zabazev says, would a game loop be the berry folk using farmed plants as offering to generate favor and drop seed costs? That sounds like a good game loop. And I think we could also have like there's different seed type. You can't it's just not just one seed, but there's a bunch of different seed type that can plant. They can plant. Yeah. Yeah. And then the okay. Drop seed into the world. Different seed types exist for different types of berry folk. They would offer something. What are they offering? What would be the currency here? Because they can't offer up themselves, can they? Would it be crazy? Because it's offer their young and old, maybe. Zavazev says, why not? Indeed. Okay. Hold on. I'm trying not to be too crazy here. If they offer themselves, you can drop 2 berries instead of 1. Suddenly we're making what is that game called? Cult of the Lamb. Zabazev says, what a show of loyalty to their god to offer up grandpa. True believers, you know, that might be a good thing. So the grandpas, right. Okay. Gramps will offer themselves. Hey, Retector. Retector says, what's up, Ezra? Hi. I'll stay for 5 minutes. Okay, yeah, no problem. Thanks for stopping by. Voice says, no worries. Go crazy. Halloween is drawing near. It's true. There's at least 3 videos here with this, so that's good. All right, so Gramps, get offered. Offering. Offerberry. I think this one's gonna be a little bit hard to program. Protector says, I'll stay for like 5 minutes. If it wasn't too late for me. Oh, I know. I understand that it's late. A little rough. What to do? Oh man, I wish I could just be like, yeah, that's whatever. And you know, how the offering looks like, it doesn't matter, but I'm kind of thinking about this. Hey Bionic. Oh, thanks for the 2nd month. Wow. Appreciate it. Smiley face. Welcome Bionics on 2nd month. All right. Yeah, I don't know. You know what? I have some time before I get to that point, right? Because, like, would the offering be, like, what's the decider of offering? When do they offer? As soon as they become old? Like, they offer themselves? Sacrifice. All right. Good. That's it. We're... All right, that's the game. We'll do it. Become old, go to Valhalla. Yeah, exactly. Mr. Protector says, so one important thing I want to bring, sorry if it's more about me. Do you think is it okay to switch to more passive game dev? I just want to try other fields of IT. Enjoy my time and deal with whatever is happening in the world for me right now. Oh, yeah, no, I think that's okay. There's nothing wrong with, you know, doing your passion more passively because life is life. You can't, like... It's not all or nothing. I think there's still something worth in making small, slow progress to find joy as opposed to trying to make it a goal-oriented thing. Yeah, 100% fine. If you need rest, if you need to step away, that's actually... I always say stepping away from the work you want to do is part of doing the work. Does that make sense? Because you needed that rest in order to perform better anyways. Right? So don't feel guilty about resting and stepping away is how I say. Mr. Protector says, I'm just afraid that people who are following me, not much, but still are going to be disappointed. You know, that's part of it, but if they truly understand you, I think that's okay. Mr. Protector said, would you be tolerant if you were in the audience shoes? I think so. At the end of the day, honestly, like it depends on what you're making though. Like, for example, if you're releasing YouTube videos, then you're going to start gathering new type of people. At that point, might as well create a new channel. But if it's just streaming, a lot of people follow streamers for the general vibe and kind of adjacency topic as opposed to just straight up game dev only. So you should be okay, I think. Yeah, Phil says absolutely. Sometimes taking step back is taking step forward. Yeah. Also, you know, the whole transparency of like, hey, I want to do this and I hope you're okay. It's still saying me. Asking that to people is probably a good idea. It shows kind of like the friendliness. It gives that vibe of like personally connecting with your viewers as well. So it wouldn't be so bad to start with that. Talking to people. Okay. Let's make some sprites here. Animate a sprite here. I suppose we should make the old version. How about we do a mustache as like a middle age, and regular berry as a normal berry, and then the wise berry as the what do you call the old berry. So there's a 3-stage berries. Okay, so I'm going to make a resource for each one of these. Specifically, how about this? Create a folder called resource. And then we'll define a script here. Folk resource. And then we'll just call this berry folk resource. And we're saying we'll have basically sprite frames. Unless we define... No, it's okay. I think we can do it this way. Var... That's all we need. For now, it's just 3 frames. I'm sure we're going to add some more stuff here, but that's what we're going to do. Verifolk resource. Young. Oops. Duplicate. Better naming convention. Mature. And then old, for example. So the young would look like we'll have idle, walk. I'll do idle like this. Idle, walk, kick, sit, right? Do we need jump? We don't really need a jump, do we? Yeah, I think we'll be okay. Maybe. Yeah, whatever. Okay, so we have a berry folk here, base berry folk. Oh, where's my kick? Ah, there it is. So in idle, we're just gonna do one of these. Oop, like that. Repeat at, I don't know, 5 frame is okay. Kick frame will be, whoa. That was just a beard. Kick frame will be like squawk. We'll do 2 times here and then phew, that'll be about 8. No repeat. Sit will just be sitting down. What if I actually make it like this? That'll be funny, actually. Here. And then make this 11. And then the walk cycle. Let's say it's this right here. And then I'll change it like that. Will be 9. Okay. Right. And then I want to copy this real quick so I can test the frame speed real quick. So I can see it. Okay. Oh. There you go. Walk cycle. Six. There you go. Okay. This is what we're going to use. Copy. Young. Is this... Mr. Protector says I just get overwhelmed a little bit because I'm working solo and I need to do everything, our social media and coding. Are making a new prototype, by the way? Kind of. I'm sorry to say. It would be more fair to say that I'm making a template slash plugin experiment for AI, which I will be using for most of my project if it works really well, for a video, because I do need to release new video on YouTube. Specifically, the topic is stop using state machine. Well, kind of. That's the title I'm working with. Or state machine is dead. And then just start the video with like, well, it's not actually dead, but you know what I mean, type of thing. Hey, Darth. Welcome. Darth says, greeting. Yeah. But yeah. Mr. Protector says, yo, this is a nice thing to invest into. Thanks. Zubazev says, state machine killed by my parents. Oh, no. Or state machine killed my parents. That's funny. Yeah, something like that. So I have state machine, the two versions of state machine: hierarchical, push down automata, and then the vanilla behavior tree, and then the goal-oriented action planning. So I just implemented all this. So I'm trying to make a quote unquote game, like a little example that uses all of this. So I can either fix this plugin and then later release a video on plugin announcement, be like, hey, you want state machine and AI? Here it is. No, it is not Gen AI. And then the one for like, okay, here's an alternative to state machine. This is what it looks like. This is how it's implemented, or not implemented, but like, this is what it is conceptually and why it's helpful. And then the third video will be like, well, I guess the video I announced this plugin would be the same video where I would explain how to use this in your own projects. And then the third video would be like, okay, well, I already made this, but here's me live coding it. So. Darth says, note state machine could be a pre-Gorman's killer for sure, depends. What? I don't know what that means, pre-Gorman's. But yeah, no, I mean, vanilla state machine has its problem, and mainly the state explosion is a huge thing. And that's why they have this like other solutions as part of the pattern. Also, behavior tree replaces state machine in that sometimes you just want to do things in sequence as opposed to state machine. And you don't want to be waiting on the loop and figuring out how transition works because you're going from transition to every other transition. So. Protector says, do you feel like theme-driven videos are good? For example, if I do roguelike, I go how roguelike generate maps and show my progress, or how to create room-like in a Binding of Isaac, maybe performance, maybe a few typos. For YouTube videos, I think so. Well, okay, here's a trick. My roguelike deck builder video is my most popular video. I don't know if that's obvious already. And my more generic tutorials are less popular. It does get views consistently, but it's less popular. And there is a part in like the title, but there's also a part in, think about it as like person who's looking for a tutorial, right? A lot of the people who are looking for a very specific language, like how to make a finite state machine or how to make a AI logic for tactics, like very specific things with like actual terms, they're a little bit over intermediate level. And population wise, that's less population. It's okay to serve them. And it will still do well because eventually everybody will become that level and they need that information. But if you're more like in the beginning stage, if you're capturing beginner stage, if you go, now obviously this was popular in the beginning, but if you say, hey, total beginner guide to game making, and you get a lot of options, but then it's too generic, right? You just niche down a little bit more. That's why, like, for example, if I said roguelike deck builder tutorial, then anybody understands what that means, especially beginners, because I think the intermediate to expert would be like, yeah, I kind of know how to do it. I want to do it myself. Or like, you know, beginners would be more inclined to be like, oh, that is specifically what I want to make. And that's why you see tutorials like how to make platformer, how to make RPG series. Those things do better because it's easier to feel less overwhelmed. Because just the title itself, like Total Beginner's Guide for Godot, like it sounds tempting, but it sounds like I need to commit myself to something like learning something that I don't have to use yet. I think. That's my theory. So like as much as us programmers who already know programming would love to release a video talking about like how computer actually works or how to manage memory or how to optimize blah blah blah, that's not a problem for a lot of people that you want to attract. You can talk about it, you just need to title it, because it is important for anybody. You just need to make sure you package it in such a way that it is more attractive, right? Does that make sense? It's kind of hard. Darth says performance. Oh, performance killer. Yeah. It really depends on how you implement it, but yeah. Mr. Protector says, well, I target more of devlogs, not making very technical guides. I'm more of a dev, not a teacher. Yeah, that's okay too. You don't have to teach. Devlog could be interesting. I think a lot of people watch devlog because, one, they like to see what people are making, but also they like to see stuff like, oh, here, this is a game mechanic that I wanted to make, and I achieved this by doing this thing. And you don't have to be teaching. You don't have to be like thinking about it in the perspective of teaching. And this is a lesson I learned that I don't apply to myself, which I should. You don't have to be not difficult. Showcasing what algorithm or what decision you made is the fun of the devlog. To be like, oh, that's interesting. For example, if I were to make a devlog on roguelike map making, and I talk about, well, I had a lot of options to find neighbors, but I found this thing called Delaunay's triangulation. And this is the concept, but how would you implement it? And apparently the solution is by starting with huge triangle, and then every time you add a new point, replacing the hole with new lane. And it turned out it worked out. But there is an issue. So next time I'm going to try to make a visualizer debugger, but it's like a decision of like, do I spend another 2 days making a visualizer, or say it's good enough and then just rerun until it feels good? Like that's like technical but understandable. You know what I mean? I don't know. There's a lot of that, I think. Because part of devlog is that I want to be productive while watching video, like devlog, but I don't want to have to pay attention. I want to be able to watch it while I'm eating lunch, right? I think that's kind of the general idea. I want to be able to still follow along the general concept and bookmark it, in like understand enough that it's useful to bookmark it and come back to it later while eating lunch. I think. At least that's my idea. I'll try to do that. I'm going to try that. Try to make videos more focused on that. If only I took my own advice in video making, I would be much more popular, I think. I'm making the changes, so. To be determined, the success will be determined soon. I'll let you know how it goes. Anyways. All right, so we have the animation here. I'm going to make a mature version, so we'll just paste. Oh, probably paste as unique, honestly. Come over here. Instead of this, we're going to use our shiny Wiseberry. Oh, Beer Sprite is separate. It's kind of interesting. Where's Wise Betty? Ah, there's Wise. We got the shiny Wiseberry. Boom. There you go. Then we're going to do the same thing. I mean, I think it makes sense to me. Is that real or not is to be determined. To be determined. Protector said, all right, I gotta go. Thanks for the talk. Yeah, no problem, Protector. Mr. Protector said, write it down and stick it to your monitor so you remember. Yeah, it's true. I should do that. Mr. Protector said, I've got 1:24 a.m. right here. It's crazy. Oh, thanks for being a fan. Okay, maybe I shouldn't use that word. Thanks for watching me. Fan or not. Good night, Protector. Good night. Darth Bleshman says, like games, one vector of strategy is to cater to an audience. Yes. Any type of public-facing media or product, the main success seeker is to define an audience and speak to them directly. As soon as you go, I want everybody to like it, no matter what they are, that's when you get a little slop. It works sometimes, but for the most time, it doesn't work. Hold on, I'll be back. Oh, I gotta go downstairs and pick up something. I'll be back. So sorry. Took a while. A little confusion with the delivery guys, so I had to wait down there for a little bit in the rain. It's okay. I'm here now. Let's see. Music's still going. Good. CVG says, a fellow game dev here, just came across your stream and saw a bunch of jumping strawberries. Can't wait to see what the game is. It's two different things. I made this one specifically for kind of like a gachapon for the Twitch interaction. So there's like you can redeem on Twitch called channel points, which is free for watching. And so you can like plant seeds and water them. And you get these like little berry folk out of the pool, so it's like a little mini game. Right now we're just kind of reusing the sprite for it. Specifically, I'm making a video on alternative solution to finite state machine. Or specifically, I guess I keep saying the word specifically, but the alternative solution to finite state machine, I don't know, whatever. And basically, I'm making a mini game to kind of demonstrate all these other things. So we have the FSM behavior tree and GeoIP. And we made this like little God mode game thing. All right. So we're making a resource. Were we doing the old one? No. Okay, old. So we'll do the Wiseberry. Wiseberry sit. Kick. Wiseberry kick. We happen to have these sprites because we already made them, and it seems like a great example. It seems like I'm gonna be using these my berry folk sprites a lot because it's the easiest to kind of get. That's kind of somewhat of high quality. Yeah. CVG says, a very creative game, lol. Yeah, thanks. All right. So we have this. Let's see. We will say Berry Folk will take the resource. And then it'll probably just take that animated sprite here. Equal to the value. If it's node ready, update sprite frame. And then that's going to be underscored because it's private. And then we'll call that on ready. And then we'll have a function for that as well. More specifically, animated sprite frames. Sprite frames will become the Berry Folk one. Cool. And I suppose I could make it tool so it just updates. I can reload real quick. I can see all the lurkers. Connexus is here. I think we exposed a few people that weren't talking, but it's okay. I'm sure people come and go here. You know, hindsight, should I make it so that every now and then it auto spawns whoever's in the chat, even though they don't talk? Rick says, you exposed me to chat. Yes, I'd have. Aaron says, been lurking for 20 minutes. I don't see myself. What? There's one. Incredible's here. Oh, maybe Aaron just doesn't have a berry. Yeah, you can't. You have to exist. Maybe we need, okay. We need a lurk box where if people are online but haven't chatted yet, but they're like hiding, then they are like hiding behind a bush or something. So they're here, but they never talked. Axel says, when will we get a lurker berry? Oh, we do need a lurker berry. Axel, you say lurker berry, like lurking berry, but when you say lurker berry, I am thinking about something completely different. And it kind of shows my age. When you say lurker berry, this is what I'm thinking of. Right here, this guy right here. Can you see it? Yep. Wait, this is a new version. It's not even the old one. Old one looked a lot uglier. Where's Brood War lurker? Yeah, this is a real lurker. Now this, where is it? Hello? Right here. That's what I'm thinking about. Can you believe this is like a low-res sprite? Crazy. That in a berry form. Now that's a nightmare fuel. Okay, so we have that. Blah, blah, blah. I can come over here, and I do believe I can just go like that. Mature, or I can quick load young. I can quick load old, maybe? Boom. There you go. Okay. And I suppose this happens on aging. That could be managed by the Berry Folk manager. Rick says, lurk, back to the code mines. Yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for lurking in us. Welcome, welcome. All right. All right, that's just one thing. Obviously, we need some actions. berry folk actions and what they do specifically. Kick does something. I don't know, like walk does something. Pickup does something. I don't know what pickup would do, honestly. We'll have to define them. What do we say they're gonna all have? I mean, there's a sprite version of these actions, and there's a whole other aspect of like what it means for the other thing. So sacrifice is gonna be hard. Rest, pickup, but we don't really have much for pickup, but we'll figure it out. So these are some actions that the berry would do. For now, it's simply animation. So we go boop, play. You know what? This should be... Should that be a state? No. For now, these are just simple animation thing. When kick happens, berry folk animation kick happens. When walk plays, berry folk animations walk plays. Rest will be sit. Right. We'll figure it out eventually. We'll always get around to it. A sit, kick, and idle. Walk, rest. And then we have idle. Right. Cool. The problem with kick is that it kicks and then it doesn't return to normal. But that's not my problem. That's the state's problem. All right. So this animation control, let's take a look. I think this animation control can be a state machine. Specifically state machine for the berry folk. So we'll say right click and create a state machine. Easy state machine here. And then we're going to create a few nodes here, which I guess is an extension of state node. I wonder if I just do this, what happens? This node here. And so we're going to have idle. Idle 2 and 3. We have a kick. Right. We have a walk cycle. I don't know if I should name this to be like animation state machine. Potentially. There could be some coordination that needs to happen, but we'll see. And then we have rest. I don't have an animation for berry folks dying. I wonder if it should just explode. Just use an explode sprite. That'd be funny, actually. Okay. And then we'll just simply attach a script for these. And I guess this is like berry folk states specifically. I really love that word, apparently. I cannot not say specifically. What's my issue? Why am I like this? It's gonna yell at me. Be like, hey, implement all of the abstracts. And I'll be like, all right, yes, ma'am. This doesn't need anything. Abstract will be on enter. We got on exit. Doesn't return anything either. And then on update. Whoops. Like so. And then return state node. I think I'm allowed to return null for no transition. Okay. I'm going to copy this. Just make a script for each one of them. So far, so good. So far, making a state machine is kind of simple, right? It's just making states, pulling, dragging and dropping the state machine, and copying and pasting something. Starting state, I think what I want to do actually is have a transitional state. So, because otherwise we're going to have to connect everything to everywhere, right? We can go from, let's say we go from idle. So starting state could be idle. It starts as paused. And basically when we're kicking on enter, and we'll do, this animation sprite 2D is already available. We can pass the game here. And we can type this. Since it's a variant, I think we can type it to whatever. I wonder if it'll accept any type. I want to try something. Let's say it's node. Is it going to yell at me? It won't. It just accepts it. Oh, no, function signature doesn't match. It is variant. Okay. So it does have to be a variant. I just need to type it separately. Okay. Interesting. So for example, here, I could choose to pass it as a game state, which is available by the state machine. I could be like state machine game, blah, blah, blah. So I can come over here, say, hey, this one is state machine here. I guess on ready after updating, we'll simply start this. And this one requires game state, which is null to begin with. But I could pass in self. And so the game state for us right now is the character body, specifically Berry Folk. So we can say, hey, this is a Berry Folk actually. And this will accept it as a case. Yeah. Cool. Like so. Yeah. I mean, typing is a little annoying with the variant. Unfortunately, GDScript doesn't have a generic typing like Java does. I mean, that would be a great feature in its future. But alas. Cool. And it has all these things. So what we're going to do here is on enter, we're going to say Berry Folk as Berry Folk idle. Right? And then kick, same thing. Will be a kick here on enter, walk cycle. And then for rest, we're gonna sit, which is rest. Okay, so animation plays when it's entering the state. Now we're gonna think about the transitions of the state. I suppose walk behavior depends on what kind of walk this is, right? We have a walk towards a target. We have a walk around randomly without any purpose. And then, yeah. I think it'll be interesting to be like, oh, walk if you run out of stamina, rest type of thing. I'm trying to think if that's a state machine or behavior. So behavior of getting to somewhere would be walk towards that place until you reach it or you need to take a rest. This whole like, it's a little confusing. It's a little confusing right now. So this one determines what state the berries are in. And depending on what state they're in, they do very specific animation. And these animation depends on the transition of the state of the berry, I think. Yeah. So if we make it so that as long as berry has a velocity, would play this. So we could go from idle on update. Well, it could be bad, but so we say, hey, if this is where every state connects to everything, but there's only 4, so far I think we'll be okay. So if berry folk velocity, which will be vector 2, I guess I could do it this way too. Berry folk as berry folk, which is a character body. Velocity is greater than 0, or where we go is 0 approximate, and it is not that. Then we're gonna transition to a state called walk. And this transition happens everywhere, I think. Kick's not allowed to transition until kick animation is done. And when it is done, it transitioned to walk like this. So we'll say on update, if the berry folk animated sprite 2D is playing, meaning it hasn't stopped kicking, we don't want to go anywhere. If it is not playing, then it checks the velocity and transition to state node called walk. Yeah. Right? I think so. So far, so good. Nothing too complicated. From the rest, we definitely transition to walk as well if the berry's starting to move. Once again, nothing crazy here. So from idle, we go to walk. From kick, we go to walk if the kick animation is done. Okay, cool. Only if the velocity moves. Velocity changes. Okay, here's a question. I could always be like, hey, berry folk move to something be an action within the berry folk character body's function. What if the state decides that? Should that decide that? Because it wouldn't immediately move to it. It will only move if the state is in some state. I would think. Can it move while kicking? It shouldn't be allowed to do that, should it? Yeah, I think we need to be clearer. I mean, this is where things gets a little messy. So this is a common animation trick, right? Where we go, hey, play the walk cycle animation if the velocity is non-zero. This actually is only for animation. So I think I'm just going to call it that, where I'm going to rename this to be animation state machine. Where walk means it's moving. Kick means it's kicking. So this transition happens anywhere if we see a state that says var is kicking, it becomes true. So we start from false. And from idle, the precedence is that, hey, if the berry folk is kicking, it went from not kicking to kicking. Then we're going to go to the kick state node. So we're focusing on controlling only the animation cycle based on the state of the berry. I'm doing this so I can keep things kind of clean. And then we do that same thing here. We can go to, we were resting. Boop. Go to the kick state. From rest. And then from kick, nothing happens. When this happens, we want to transition to walk. On exit, when we're exiting the kicking state, we're setting the kicking to false. Kelso said, oh, you're doing finite state machine now, Ezra? Well, I'm going to do everything here, but yes, I'm using the finite state machine right now. So I just created this state machine yesterday. So I'm trying to use this, and I'm trying to practice compartmentalizing different aspects to see where I can combine these concepts so I can be better instructors on this. So this one is where the pushdown automata kind of works out now. So for example, if you are resting, meaning the berry was sitting down, and then the kicking command happens and kick happens, when the kick is done, where should it go? Should it be going to walking? Should it go to rest? Should it go to idle? And I think what should happen is actually, instead of redeciding, hey, is it the velocity 0, blah, 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 I'm just going to simply do previous state, which is state helper dot pop state, right? Pop state gives pop the state history stack and return the previous state. So this gives me what the previous state is. So we're popping state, and we say we're simply going to set that as the case, I think. What happens if it's empty? I think pop back returns null if it is empty. Yes. And then if I say back, returns the last element of if the array is empty, fails and returns null. Great. This might, okay, I might have to change this. Yes, it does return null, but the problem is that it's going to error out. So I think we need to make sure we do this whole thing correctly. If it is empty, we just return null here instead. And then we pop back. And then before doing this, I think it does throw error, right? It says fails and return. That messaging might be confusing for people. So I think I'm going to treat it as a intended behavior. So I'm going to fix it here as well. So I'm going to say, hey, if the state machine is empty or history is empty after the pop action, then return null as well. So we got 2 null guards, but it's okay. So we got the after kicking, when the kicking is done, I'm going to grab whatever state it was at before and then transition to that. Pushdown automata used. Example used. Great. So if it's kicking while sitting, it'll kick and go back to sitting unless new action happens. And from the rest, the walk transition can happen. Great. Great, 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 great. We're already utilizing some of the stuff. Is kicking, whatever state you're in, kicking takes precedence. Great. From idle. Okay. from idle, we can go to kick, we can go to walk, we can go to rest. I think resting is resting, right? And we'll say, hey, from the rest, kicking is priority. Resting is this. Or like so. What if it's moving while we're in a resting state, right? That's the question. I think what we need to make sure, reasonably so, if the velocity is whatever the velocity is, if we're entering rest, when we're entering it, we need to zero out the velocity. Because why would you be moving? So we'll say velocity will be zeroed out here. Vector 2 of 0, 0. And suddenly, immediately I enter this and something makes it so that the velocity is non-zero, then we're going to walk. Right? Boom. Great. Kicking while moving. I almost feel like we'll see. Because I almost feel like I want to do like this. Because once I start walking, can I ever go to kicking? Or does it always have to go through idle? I do think that while walking, I should be able to transition to kicking and resting. Yeah. Should the transition to walk happen on movement or on target assignment? I think it should be target assignment. It should be walk to something that transition to walk instead of relying on velocity. So var target, right? Which would be, I don't know, some character body 2D, I suppose. And by default it's null to start with. I guess this could be on ready. On ready null can be, target could be null. So on idle, instead of checking this velocity to be 0, I think the whole velocity setting and handling walking animation should be done within the walk state. Not that we're entering walk state as a result of velocity. The execution of the walk state will create velocity. So we'll have this as back to a state machine. Action state machine, I suppose. It's gonna be a little confusing. Remassaging happening here. So we'll say, hey, if it's resting, it's resting. If it's walking, it's walking. If Berry Folk has target, then we're going to try to walk to it. Again, idle here, kick. I think we're going to do the same thing for the other things. We're going to go to the previous state, whatever it was. On rest. When target gets discovered, we're going to get up and walk. From the walk, we can potentially go to kicking if the kicking is detected. So we can have a target, but while having a target, return kick. If the kick happens, it'll go to kick and kick will return to the walk state. And walk state will do something, play an animation. It has a target now, so we're going to decide on its velocity and all that. That's fine. Let's see. What else? On kicking. So velocity is decided on walk. So when we're entering the kick, I think whatever velocity we had can be set to 0 now. Right? Because that's what it means to be kicking. And that's what it means to be idle. Armin says meow. Hey Armin, welcome. All right. So on rest, we're 0. On kick, we're 0. We're sitting still and doing things. Rest. There are a few types of rest. We need a rest duration, I think. Resting is good. I think resting purpose is probably a good idea. Like, why are we resting? Are we resting to catch our breath? Because we've been walking for a while. Or are we resting because we're bored? I think that if the berry folks have some sort of stamina system, that might be actually good. Like, they rest if their stamina runs out. They rest if their health is low, and then they idle if their stamina runs out. Right? So this one could have a state called stamina. And then, if I know how to say stamina, then we can have health real quick. Okay. This is just, testing this out. So we'll say, hey. Now, who decides that? Is this still the state machine, or should it be a behavior tree? I need to figure this out real quick. We'll see. We're doing one incremental implementation at a time, and then new things will get added as we add some logic, I'm sure. The heck is this? Sorry. I'm hungry now. All right. I'm a professional talk to selfer, so here we are. Okay, so if the target is there, if we're walking, we go to the walk. If we're kicking, we're kicking. If we're resting, we're resting. We're saying that while walking, while the target is there, basically on update, we need to say arrived at target, transition to idle while I'm thinking, I guess. If berry folk stamina is less than 0, or less than equal to 0, I guess, then return idle. We're going to the idle. The idea is it so far, is it actually easy or not? That's the question. Is if we don't have any stamina, we can't even kick or anything. And I think what we can do is I suppose this is an update thing. I almost want to provide delta here, but I'll do var time since last update, which will be float, I guess, or last update msec will be 0 to start with, and we're gonna say time get ticks in millisecond. And basically, we're going to compare the current one, var current msec, which I think is integer, yeah. Grab this, right? So it depends on how long I've been walking. I think it's the idea. So we'll have should the walk, I mean, this is the walk thing. Should I define what the stamina expenditure of the walking is here or here? I almost feel like I need to describe it here, where I go. Our default, or not default, walk stamina per second, msecond, or second. Let's say it uses Mississippi. So out of 100, let's say it uses like 5 for now. So on this, on update, we're going to reduce the berry folk stamina, which is its own function, where we go spend stamina amount will be stamina equals stamina minus amount. Maximum between this and the 0, so that is always set to 0. So while walking, we say we're going to span stamina by the berry folk. Spend stamina. I guess I gotta set this as this. And the amount will be, oh my gosh, I might as well actually do this var. So I don't have to redefine this every time. It's not bad. And say, hey, berry folk, we're going to spend your stamina based on your expenditure. Walk stamina per second. This is how much we spend per second. We're going to multiply it to guess the difference. So we'll say last update millisecond. This might end up being 0 because of the whole millisecond situation. So we might need this to be a float. Yeah. We'll see. So say current millisecond minus last update. Like so. So we're reducing the stamina. The problem is that if this second is small enough that it's not a whole number, this reduction is not going to really take impact. So what I think I can do is don't update until this is a whole number. Yeah. It's going to change, I think, but that's not going to be accurate. Should I make it accurate? I don't want to be too complicated. I mean, if it's float, I think it'll be easier. This can be represented as float, so I can do this easier. Okay. Could be a little messy, but we're spending stamina based on the stamina rate. If the stamina reaches 0, we're going to go idle while walking. After kicking, we're going to the previous state no matter what. Say kick stamina expenditure be 20, let's say 10. Kelso says, what happened, Ezra? Are you good? No, I'm just fighting with AI. Haha. Yeah, no, exactly. Life is lifing right now. We're going through it. Not on update, but I think it's on enter. So when we're starting the kick, we just simply spend a specific amount of expenditure. Or a state, go like that, and say var berry folk is state as berry folk. Okay, we do the kick animation and we say berry folk is going to spend stamina, the amount that's defined within the thing. Expenditure, kick stamina expenditure. And it's going to go back to where it was, either walking or idle or rest. It doesn't matter. And from walk, it's going to be like, ooh, you got to go to idle here. Yes. Now, if we go to idle, basically, we want to have a stamina recovery per sec. Let's say we're into 1 here. So during idle, we're going to make it so that we do the same thing as walk because number of second matters. So we'll have this right here. And then on walk, we do the calculation here. Boom. I suppose once I enter idle, don't transition until the stamina's back to full, I think. So instead of spend stamina, I think we have funk recover stamina, which is float. And this is going to be basically same thing as this, except minimum. And then we're adding the amount. So on idle, we'll recover stamina. Recovery per second. Take the time diff. Update the time diff. And if berry folk stamina is less than 100. Return null. No transition. Okay. I think we're okay here. State helper. Okay. If stamina recovers, we figure out what we're doing. If we're kicking, we're kicking. If we're resting, we're resting. Blah, blah, blah. Nice. I mean, there's few approaches here, and it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. Because we can be like, oh, animation gets control based on the flags. And then the flags are set based on the behavior controller. Instead of state doing all of them all at once. And that's where it gets a little tricky of like, okay, which one controls what? You know, how do we decide on that? Oh, thanks for the hydrate, sorry. Kelso. Appreciate it. I mean, that's really the question every time. Where does the logic live? What's the best way to break apart the logic? Or is it too much breaking apart? You know? Because I could be like, yeah, the flag decides this state controller is purely state transition based on flags and it controls animation, but that seems a little crazy, I think. I think it's okay, it's okay. We're saying that the resting happens when we flag resting. I think that's okay, because resting doesn't necessarily mean it all only happens when it's 0 health. Thanks for the follow. It's Neki, I want to say, or it's N3K1 3001. All right, I think that's okay here. So rest. I think rest is equivalent to the idle, where while resting, also the stamina recovers, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to wait until Ooh, whoa, okay, that might be a behavior tree. Okay. Because there's some priority here. If you're chasing someone and your stamina runs out, maybe you don't rest for the full time. You don't idle to recover everything. Maybe it shouldn't be... Okay, hold on. We're going to do this. Recovery of stamina happens on idle, but it doesn't necessarily wait completely. We spend stamina when we're kicking. It goes back to where it was. When we're walking, we're spending stamina while walking. And if we arrive at target, we go idle. Meaning we just come out of the state of walking. I mean, we could have a sample here. Helper function that's just like func has reached target. And that could be a bool. Turn false here. And so we can do to do down here. It's taking a little longer than I thought. But it's okay. I mean, at least the organization is slightly cleaner. So if Barry Folk has reached target, we're just going to go back to idle here. Or if we're stamina equals 0, we're going to go back to the idle, which comes back to target anyways. Cool. Okay. There we go. Kicking, rest, blah, blah, blah. Does that work? Let's imagine this. Ugh. So behavioral tree. I mean, this is basically an animation tree, isn't it? Because we say, hey, go towards something. Okay. Let me allow you guys to peek at my brain right now. So if the transition is purely flag based, not logic based, flag based only. So the logic of when it switches is irrelevant. And we make it so that because this is an animation state machine essentially. If it is flag based, do we even need state machine? Because if we're saying somebody else is controlling the logic and setting the flag, Kelso says, nah, that was too long time ago. I touched Find a State Machine. Let's just listen. I'm trying to think about this. Because it makes no sense. If we say the animation state purely depends on what flag is set, or what series of flag is set, then there's some behavioral commands. There's behavioral controller that's deciding when those flags are flipped. Right? So like the whole idea of like, okay, well, you can only walk if you're like the limitations of what you can do is separate from limitations of what animation should play when. You know? I don't know. It's a little messy, I feel like. But maybe it's okay. So there's some stamina thing going on where we go, hey, walk towards something. It's going to try to do it until it reaches the target. I mean, it's pretty simple logic here. If the target exists, basically, if a target doesn't exist, if there's no target, then you've already reached the target. That's like, there's no argument about that. But if there is a target, then we go, hey, target, which I think is a node or character body, and we say, hey, your position to my position, like, is it tolerable? Like, is it within the space? Is it within the scope? And I would say, hey, is that position less than equal to, I don't know, like 10 pixel, but then I guess we can have an export variable says target tolerance 32 pixels, let's say. Like if it's within 32 pixels, it's basically reached it. Unless we go, oh no, we're gonna consider reached if the collision box overlaps of the area. Maybe that's the case. Kelso says, all I do for that is just one script. No need to split it. Yeah, no, exactly. That's what I mean. But it's okay. So we have this. These are some functions to control the actions of these things. We have some stuff for state transitions. On walk, we walk while the stamina is low or stamina is full. If the stamina runs out, we idle to rest. If we reach the target, we idle as well. But while walking, we have to kick. Then we go to kick. Maybe that's the idea. Maybe it just goes to the target and kicks it, regardless of what it is. That's the state machine for kicking. Anyways. Otherwise, it kicks and then it goes back to where it was. If it has a target, it comes here and tries to reach the target again. If it doesn't have a target, it's going to go to idle. Rest happens separately, but we don't really have much of a rest, I think. Well, that's the thing. Do we make it a platformer? Because if it is top down, then the jump makes no sense. Right? But I guess it would be more complicated if there is a jump. That could be a better example. Potentially. Well, this is AI, by the way. This player doesn't control these, by the way. The idea is it's going to be kind of like the God Manager thing of the Berry Folk, where you drop seeds and then Berry Folk does things. Kelso says, yeah, my game is platformer. So you just kind of wanted to see me implement your game. Well, that's not where we are we? Okay, anyways. We can be is kicking, is resting, all those things. Great. State machine complete. I think the state machine is complete. It'll do whatever it needs to do. And yeah, we can just kind of trust that that's going to work for now. We got to put the Berry Folk in the world, though. So we'll I suppose Phil says, given the lack of chatters, you're doing pretty good job at making it feel like you've got 1,000 viewers. A prop to you, dude. Yeah, no problem. Hey, look, I'm very good at making it look like we got chat going on. Orokusaki says, time to pivot into MMORPG. Whoa, that's the greatest pivot ever. When in doubt, go MMORPG, right? Phil says you're streaming on multiple platforms. I mean, I have this and YouTube. It's pretty similar if you count. You can see all the chats that are happening on both. On right below, right here. Oroku says, yeah, very easy pivot. Of course. I mean, it's only the obvious thing to do. All right, let's grab some tile map to have the Berry Folk walk around in. Not going to do anything crazy. We're just going to copy and paste some of the old stuff I made. Which is a question of where is it? It's somewhere. I made a tile map at some point. Let's see. Not OneDrive. Godot project. You know, to make a point, Phil, it's gaslighting new viewers that are hopping on to act like I've already got viewers and they're not that one person that's going to be awkwardly talking to me, you know? Orosaki says, by the way, are you working on the Berry Folk thing for a stream or are you making standalone thing with the theme? Ah, okay. It's time to re-explain what's happening today. So, you know, I've been working on the game. I'm thinking about making videos right now because YouTube video I need to make every now and then. I haven't made one in a long while. I have a lot of topics that are floating around that I just haven't done. And I had to come up with some solid topic for my next video because I got a sponsor for next video. I got a sponsor message as well. Little, you know, little sus kind of sponsor, but it is what it is. And as part of that, I had this idea that I wanted to make, which is Phil says Lama, like they just walked into the cinema and you're the only person there. Yeah, exactly. So the video idea that I had was basically like, you know, saying stop using state machine, because state machine in vanilla form really is a great starting point, but it's kind of sucks. It sucks. So I researched some alternatives to state machine, at least the vanilla version, which are like behavior tree, utility AI, push down automata, hierarchical state machine, goal-oriented action planning, blah, 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 blah. So I already made a script talking about what they are. But I thought as a second thing, it would be great if I can show a real example as like the follow-up video. So I was making kind of like template slash like generic solution of those design patterns. And I'm trying to make a experience that uses all of this, which is basically heavily AI controlled game. So I decided we're going to make a little God mode game where berry folks are walking around fulfilling purposes. And then I just kind of watch slash drop things to interact with it. So that's where we're at. And we just finished using the state machine that we created. Does it work right now? I don't know. We don't know yet. We're going to assume that it does. But so we're making that right now. All right, tile map. Godot, I think it was called $5. And then I do believe I have a tile map somewhere. I forgot what was map. Here, we'll do medium icon here. One of these. Oh no, this is not it. Deck builder. I have so many. Isekai. There it is. Map. Yeah, I think it's this one. There's a footstep. Those are lines. Imagine having so many games. Okay, here we are. I guess it just uses just regular green tile. Why not? I'll use this. So I'll copy this. And then I'll paste it over here. Oh, that's a sprite. That's not what I wanted. I need a PNG version. Remember when I made this sprite sheet? Good old times. Those were the days. Don't worry, we will finish a game. We're getting there. All right. So first of all, we will make some tile set here. Automatically placed. I think it should be actually 32 by 32 here. Or is it 64? No, it is 32 by 32. And then we do that. Boom. We can clean, remove tiles. What can I hold control to create multiple tiles? We got to get rid of some of these. Do I have to? I know this is a little bug. It's going to yell at me every time. It's not even the right size. Whatever. Phil says they be like, what the heck? Sounded like a party was going on from the outside. Hey, yeah, exactly. It's okay. As long as they click and come in, then they are the party. Press the run game button. Nothing's gonna happen. I don't think I've ever seen you hit that button, Lamau. Hey, I hit it sometimes. For my last project, I was working on it. But it's not at a hittable point. I don't need to hit it. Unless I make a tester. Alright. Smarty pants. We're just gonna paint the world. Nothing crazy. Boop. Oh. Not quite what I wanted. There you go. Boom. Big boom right there. Here. You want to see it? Oh. Wow. A grass field. All right. We're gonna have to have a berry folk there. We'll start with one. Oh shoot, I just moved something. Ah, moved the sprite. Whoopsies. There you go. Okay. Or Sasaki. Oral Kusaki says, masterpiece, all done. It is. We're done here. We're getting there. I don't know how long this whole project will take. Hopefully no more than a few days. All right. I am hungry though, so I'll be over here in a bit. Okay, so berry folk behavior, we got that going on. I suppose we got to grab our plants from our berry folk simulator. So script scene, I suppose we can make a new folder. Plant. Whoops. You know, I'll make probably a lot of progress over the weekend. By myself, without a viewer. Offline, as I do. Or Kosaki says, time to run it down in League. Be back in a while. I'm done here, guys. I'm done. Zabazev says, game of the year. Love it. Keep it up. More grass fields, please. More grass. Bigger grass. Now. That's how to do it. Exactly. I'm glad everybody understands what it is, you know? What it's about. I mean, at least I didn't have to reprogram the state machine. Where is it? Where's the... Oh, wait, this is a wrong folder. Where's my strawberry folk? Okay, Twitch Gachapon here. We got the... I think it's under Gachapon. And then we have the seed. Ah, seed spawn here. PNG file. Cloud. Oh, it's an explosion. Okay. What about the plants? I see that these are here, but what about the plants? That's the raining, is watering. Ah, flower buds. Let me see what that looks like. It's hard to see. All right. Wait, these are a lot. Oh, we got the baby sprout, flower, and flower bud. And small plant. Great. Copy. Copy. Yeah, I know. I could Control C. I'm just being deliberate for the screen. Because if I do Control C on my keyboard, you guys don't know what I'm doing. All right, we got the flower buds, and then we'll grab the seeds out here. With the dirt. With the dirt. Boom. All right, we got all the sprites we need. So now we got to make the plant. So idea is right now I can go main basically canvas layer and a simple button where we drop seed, which will cost something, but for now it's just gonna say drop seed minus minus 10 of whatever that is. And each dead berry, I guess, harvest. Okay, hold on. I'm thinking. When the berry dies. No, when the new berry is born. We get a berry currency back. When the berry dies at a old age, not when they're young, or depending on how mature the berry is, they drop more seeds. Okay? So every berry that gets born adds 1 to the resource. When the berry dies, they drop seeds in multiples. So you have an opportunity when the berry dies to get more seeds. Okay. You know what? That's not bad. Okay, this one is yelling at me because it's like, hey, you tried to use tile map that doesn't exist. What's that? Here you go. Silly bug. All right. I like that. So we'll go drop seed will be a function here. I don't know. I'll just put it down here like that. It's going to do something. We're going to do this main script. Ta-da, the game. All right. Good enough for now. There are a lot to be done. But this basic part needs to be done for me to actually get to the part where I'm doing the AI. So hopefully next time, and next time on Yu-Gi-Oh, that is this is the Yu-Gi-Oh, I'll have already implemented the sprites for plants. I mean, technically plants go through states. They go from young, mature, and old. Technically age is also a state machine, but then like, I don't know, is that a separate state? I guess it is separate state. Oh my gosh, it is a separate state machine. So berry folk actually need a age state machine where the base frame changes. That's the downside. Because if you were thinking about single state machine, right? Where we want to change the sprite, like you will need a state called aging. And then while aging, you can't have all these things. So now you go aging idle, aging kick, aging walk, aging rest, which kind of is silly. So you need like multiple state machines to control different parts. So that's going to be implemented. So every time I age, sprite frame changes. Yeah, the life cycle state machine is what it is. So we have this like action state machine, and then we have the life cycle state machine. And then the behavioral tree will be more goal-oriented stuff, right? So for example, it'll be like, go take revenge, right? Take revenge on a berry. What does that look like? You know, it's like lurking around and chasing a berry and whatnot. Okay, cool. I think we can do that. And we still did a lot. We ended up making the unconfirmed action planner. And then we are starting to make our game. I promise you, by next Wednesday we'll be done, I think. And I have better be. I need to make that video. I need to make that video before I even finish this, so we'll see. All right, thanks everyone for watching. Once again, Monday, Wednesday, Friday is my stream hour normally. Come to Discord. If you're not already, we make announcements there. So on the expected days, I don't exactly know what time. So I will make announcement there being like, hey, stream watchers, I am going online. Otherwise, my stream sponsor, what is it? Is it protonpass? Okay, yeah, it is Proton. My sponsor, protonpass, is a password management, and you get 50% off on this password management tool. If you need it anyways, might as well use my link, right? If you're in the lookout for password manager subscription, and you already use protonpass and you need to re-up your whatever, go use my link. You get 50% off, which is a lot. And I get some money back too. So that's one thing. All right. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you next time. Let's just look for a raid target here, so I can go eat. Hypnotic. Yeah. Hypnotic. I see you. Ooh, digital's on again as well. Digital's been on for 3 hours. Hypnotic. I guess I did digital last time. I'll go to hypnotic. Hypnotic's transparency filter seems a little bit janky right now. We'll see. All right, Bubble Shop. Here we go. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye. And then goodbye to YouTube as well, I guess.